The summer break is here. After 12 official races, it's certain who will finish up top, but the second place is all but certain. And this second place means a lot for Mercedes, so much that they're throwing everything they have at it. But will it be enough? So, last weekend at Spa-Francorchamps, the German manufacturer presented a big upgrade for its W14, which included redesigned sidepods and an improved floor. But this isn't all, as the second part of the upgrade will be introduced at the Dutch Grand Prix. This upgrade will most certainly fix some of the issues that resurfaced last weekend. The arrival of the upgrade coincided with Mercedes combating the reintroduction of bouncing on the straights, which proved to be the team's most difficult challenge during 2022. But this stopped Mercedes from reaching the podium in a race that was, apart from P1, quite enjoyable. Mercedes hoped in vain to overtake Ferrari due to their superior racing pace. Lewis Hamilton's undercut on Charles Leclerc prior to the first pit stop was unsuccessful. Leclerc had an answer for every quick lap of his pursuer after that. Ferrari was 1.5 tenths faster than us on average, team boss Toto Wolff revealed. Initially, this was due to Mercedes being more cautious than Ferrari when estimating the quantity of fuel required. "We had too much petrol on board," Wolff said. It was much too little for Ferrari. In the final quarter of the race, Charles Leclerc had to take his foot off the throttle regularly. The major Mercedes improvements has yet to reveal its teeth. It was also the most disadvantageous scenario for the introduction of such a significant update. The first practice session was interrupted. The weather changed every minute after that. Sometimes it rains, sometimes it doesn't. Everyone was flying blind during the race, especially for teams with new parts and updates. Mercedes was immediately taken aback by what appeared to be a solved problem. In the rapid sections, the car began bouncing. For us, Blanchimont was a real corner. Our drivers had to get off the gas. The bouncing continued into the braking zone afterwards, Wolff said. It remains to be seen whether this was a result of the update. Maybe we still need some fine-tuning on the underbody, but in principle, we are on the right track with the upgrade. But this also has to do with the fact that certain circuits may or may not fit a car's DNA. Ferrari has always been strong at Spa. Mercedes often struggled there. Last year, Spa was one of our worst tracks, Wolff recalled, turning to optimism. In comparison, we have improved. That's only clouded by the fact that there's a car there that's vastly superior. Wolff said the team needed to discover answers soon as to why the phenomena it thought it had mastered reappeared, and he reveals how much it clouded its weekend. The main limiting factor was the bouncing. The car was just bouncing literally on every straight, explained Wolff. Even Blanchimont was a corner where Lewis had to lift, and it is an easy flat normally. So you're bouncing on the straight, you overheat the tyres under braking, and that is a vicious cycle. It was the main limiting factor this weekend. It's frustrating to check out for the holidays like this, but the next few days, we've got to understand more based on the data. Wolff feels that the adjustments that arrived for Belgium may have been a part in why the bouncing had returned, but he maintains certain that the team made the correct decision with its current development emphasis. "We've got to analyse it," he said. "There's so much hard work that's been going on for the upgrade. The aero guys, the operations to deliver that upgrade, you've got to take your hat off to them. I think the floor could have been the reason why we've been bouncing, but we're going to see it in the data. And maybe there's something that we need to find, because I believe the direction that we're going now is the right one." While Mercedes was not the only team to experience bouncing at Spa, driver George Russell believes it is frustrating that the issue has not been resolved. "We suffered with a huge amount of bouncing," he said. "A number of teams did, maybe not as severe as we did, but still obviously it is a bit of a shame to see that. As a sport at the pinnacle of motorsport, the majority of teams are still struggling with bouncing. I hope something can be solved in that regard in the future." Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff said the Silver Arrows were caught in a vicious cycle during the Belgian Grand Prix due to bouncing and tyre overheating difficulties. They'll need to get on top of it quickly if they want to still be in second at the end of the year. Mercedes has been battling Aston Martin, Ferrari and now McLaren for second place behind Red Bull, both on the track and in the constructors' rankings. But after Max Verstappen secured victory in Belgium by 22.3 seconds, Wolff said, "You can even put Perez into the equation. We seem to be following similar development routes, but there was just one car that was faster, sometimes 1.5 seconds per lap when he was pushing at the beginning of the stint. We're going to get on top of it. I've seen the data and spoken to the drivers, and the main limiting factor was the bouncing." And one of those drivers, Lewis Hamilton, the 7-time world champion, finished 4th in the last F1 race before the summer break, unable to stop Max Verstappen's surge through the field to victory, but maintained clear of competitors behind him while also scooping up the fastest lap bonus point with a late pit stop for fresh tyres. However, Mercedes should be concerned since Hamilton reported his F1 car bouncing throughout the race, an issue that plagued the team during the first season after converting to ground-fed cars. Mercedes was one of the teams most hit by porpoising at the start of last season, and it was still hampered by bouncing as it tried to extract performance from its zero-pod idea. After Mercedes substantially revised their F1 vehicle design midway through the season, Hamilton expressed concern that the team was back to the bouncing like we had last year. I think it was kind of a non-eventful race. There wasn't much really going on. I wasn't able to keep up with the cars ahead of me, Hamilton said. I struggled at the beginning, rear-ended our biggest issue. Then we had big bouncing this weekend, so we're back to the bouncing like we had last year. So at the end, I was keeping the Ferrari within a few seconds, but I couldn't get any closer to that battle. Then to get the fastest lap at the end, it was nice to have the gap to the car behind. It was decent. But it was gusty today, and it was very difficult out there, and difficult to keep it on track. Hamilton subsequently remarked that the bouncing was everywhere around the Spa circuit, and that Mercedes will study the problem in order to find a solution before the next race after the summer break. They, talking about Mercedes, don't know what caused the bouncing, and to me it is a concern, but we'll work through the data this week and try to figure out what we do before the next race, he said. But I don't really have much more answers for you. I know what I want, and I'm praying for it. I'm just waiting for the day that we get it. Hamilton's 4th place finish and best lap bonus point have pushed him 1 point behind Fernando Alonso in the race for 3rd position in the F1 Drivers' Championship, behind both Red Bull drivers. But this isn't enough for Hamilton. He wants it all. But Lewis's comments can't mask the fact that it wasn't a nice race, with some hints that the terrible evil known as porpoising can re-emerge suddenly. Thus, the drivers can't wait to sit in next year's car, and are hoping that the upgrade after the summer break will bring the W14 further to a steady platform. A platform that enables the drivers to challenge for race wins. Toto Wolff described why Hamilton can't wait to drive the new Mercedes. It's hard to understand on these cars. There's a very fine line between losing performance and gaining it, but once you know how to manage streams, you can unlock many tenths, as did McLaren. Now we see that we have a more similar design to other cars, but we can't do everything we would like. We'll have the changes on the W15. And to do this, they've recruited one of the best in its field, James Allison. James Allison's name was not drawn at random. The winning designer is a decision maker, and he returned in time to set the parameters for the next project. So will they be able to create a race-winning car next year? Or even a challenging one after the summer break? The recent upgrades certainly look nice and impressive, but this doesn't win races. Unfortunately, the Belgian Grand Prix was a huge mess in terms of weather, so we won't be sure if the upgrades have been a huge enhancement. For this, we'll have to wait until lights out in Zandvoort. What are your thoughts on Mercedes' recent upgrades? Will they make them a guaranteed podium challenger in the second half of the season? Or maybe even enable them to win a race or two? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below.